Cole, can you see my screen share?
Yes.
Let's get started since we have to get done by 1 o'clock. I think everybody here knows me. I have been doing or practicing health and fitness for 21 years now. And in August, I'm getting ready for my first physique competition. It's not bodybuilding. I'm not going to go out there wearing briefs and flexing. I'm wearing board shorts, and I'm just looking pretty up on stage, and that's it. So okay. It's not. Don't get any dirty minds or anything about that. Okay. The stuff I'm going to present to you is the knowledge I've picked up over these 21 years of training and trying to improve ways of improving myself. So this is all. This isn't going to be a anything you see on TV or anything like this. Is going to be based on something scientific.
Okay.
Hit the next slide. All right. New breakthrough. I don't know how many new breakthroughs I have heard over the years. I think they're just a bunch of people trying to make money off of you. The human body and the laws of science behind it has not changed. The Spartan there, 500 BC, is under the same laws of science as LeBron James in 2015. And I'm willing to bet somebody even before the Spartan, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, is the same. So there's no new breakthroughs. The human body works as it's always been. Can you hit it one time? Yeah, leave it there. Now, the number one and most important factor to your health is your genetics. Unless you can find some mad scientist who can change that, you're pretty much stuck with what your mom and dad gave you.
Okay. Yeah.
So it is what it is. Can you hit it twice, Jerry? Now, this is all based on anatomy, physiology. This is the different body types. The first body type is an ectomorph. These guys are long and lean. They have a hard time gaining muscle and have a hard time gaining fat, but it's the exact opposite. They have an easy time losing fat. I mean, they can eat 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 calories a day, and they just don't gain weight. Their metabolism is just that fast. I mean, I've talked to these people. They always complain. Yeah, it's hard for you to gain weight, but you always have a six-pack, so I don't feel sorry for you. Hit it twice, Jerry. The second body type is a mesomorph. I am envious of this person. This guy is athletic. He gains muscle and loses fat easily. I mean, all his his limb to torso ratio is pretty much balanced. So, he's just made to be an athlete. A good example of a mesomorph is Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's what enabled him to be so good, because he just had that athletic look and he could build muscle and lose fat pretty easily. They're mainly tall, they can be over 6 feet tall sometimes. They have broad shoulders. They're made to be athletes. The next slide is the endomorph, which is yours truly. These guys, it says, are stocky, short. They can gain muscle and fat easily. Naveen is pointing to himself. They just quickly gain muscle. You don't even have to lift a lot of weight, and you gain muscle, but it's hard to lose fat. I mean, you have to do hours and hours of cardio. You have to watch what you eat. I mean, you're just made to store fat and made to, I think you're made to physically work, because you're storing all that fat and muscle. But keep in mind, people might not be just one spectrum. There's just things called as ecto, meso, and meso, endo. You have characteristics across the spectrum. You might have a hard time gaining muscle but losing fat. But you're just gonna have to find out where you are in that whole spectrum. I don't think you can have an ecto endo. They're just two extremes. The meso is always the one that is back and forth. Yeah, that's basically the different body types and the genetics you got from your mom and dad.
So meso is like best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's why I say I'm jealous of them.
I would glad to be in that category too.
Yeah, I mean you see these guys. They got broad shoulders, broad chests. Their skin, they're really lean. They're very athletic. Hit it, Jerry. The very first thing, as far as we're getting into how many calories you need per day. This is the basal metabolic rate, the BMR, or basal for short. This is basically how many calories you need if you did nothing during the whole day. So if you're breathing and you have a pulse, then you're burning calories. Good. And you need a certain amount of food per day to keep yourself alive. So I've got both a male and a female calculated here. Those are the 4 parameters that a BMR is based on. It's weight, height, age, and gender. And don't ask me how it's calculated. It's this big, complicated formula that I'm not smart enough to understand. Sorry. But yeah, that's for both. So the male has a 1995 BMR. He needs that many calories per day to stay alive if he did nothing. And the female needs 1314 to stay alive if she did nothing. And the rule of thumb, as far as losing weight, they say 3,500 calorie deficit per week equals 1 pound, so about 500 calories a day. And then, based on your activity, you add calories to the basal. So there's some activity 100 to 200, moderate activity 200 to 300, very active 300 to 400. That's basically a rule of thumb. How many people have like a Fitbit or an Up, activity tracker, not just the pedometer, but activity tracker? Those, you enter your profile into those. It automatically calculates all this stuff, and the activity tracks how much calories you burn per day and tells you, this is how many calories you have left. So these are really nice when it comes to automating all this stuff. I mean, you can go by these numbers, but they're very general. I wouldn't, get too bent out of shape if you don't make it, because you might need more calories per day to really maintain things. That's why these Fitbits, a lot of people use it for steps, for human vitality, but you could use it for a lot more than that. You can gauge how active you are and how well you're managing your calories with them. I mean, I think they're a lifesaver for me, because for years, I mean, I didn't have this stuff. You just had to guess. So back in the old days, people just had crashes because there's no way to know. Now with these days, I mean, I haven't had any crashes because I've been managing everything properly. Go to the next slide, Jerry. Now, as far as dieting, what I've learned to do is you go by percentages. There's carbohydrates or carbs. There's fat and protein. That makes up your calories. Your calories are used for energy, and when you eat, the food breaks down and metabolizes and turns into what they call glucose, which is blood sugar, yes. which is what energizes gives you energy. So, I mean, if you're dieting, you can go by your BMR and try to go under it, but a more effective way is to manage your main source of energy. The nutrient that breaks down to glucose first that gives you energy. For most people, it's carbohydrates. Carbs. They will most people eat a lot of carbohydrates to give them energy. There's people who prefer fat. I've seen those, and I've never seen one out in the wild, but there's people who prefer protein. I mean, it all depends how your body works, how it metabolizes, what it wants to use for energy. So for a carb person, carbs convert to glucose very quickly. That's what they're designed to do because they're made for energy. If you really want to lose weight, you cut back on carbs and you replace it with fat or protein. Preferably protein because fat is, stores more than protein does. But, it doesn't matter as long as you go under your BMR because you're going to burn all your calories anyways. A fat person, you can replace it with protein. That will make you lose weight more effectively. Protein person, if you're out there, just check your caloric intake. Make sure you're not going over. You can play around with your carbs and fat. It doesn't matter. But most likely, if you get things straight, you're going to lose weight very quickly. Like it says here, you want a slow burning fire. You want your glucose levels to be you want to slowly metabolize your food into glucose. You don't want to, if you drink pop or candy, it spikes your blood sugar really big. So you don't want that. You want to, like sweet potatoes, real grainy bread, not processed bread, but real grainy bread, oatmeal, brown rice. They have a very complex carbohydrate. It takes a long time for your body to break it down, and it slowly metabolizes it and keeps your glucose levels low. So I know there's people that aren't diabetic, but you can think of it like a diabetic. They're trying to manage their glucose levels so it doesn't spike over 70. That's basically what you want to do when you're dieting. You don't want to get your glucose levels over that amount. You want to keep them low so you're slowly, metabolizing your food and your glucose levels are at a stable level. At the same time, you want to stay active during the day. That's very important. You just don't want to, we have all desk jobs here, and you want to, get up and walk. Make sure you're burning those calories as they're metabolizing. That way, you burn what you eat, and it never has a chance to store. The human body is made to work, physically work. You got, you need to stay active throughout the day. Just don't sit there. Take breaks, walk for lunch. Exercise. Just, your activity trackers will track how much steps, how many calories you burn, how the active minutes. It will track all that. Set baselines for yourself and stick to them. Like 10,000 steps, 60 minutes of 60 minutes active. It's very important. And as far as when you get cravings, that goes back to the old days when we didn't have all this stuff. You would resist them and it would torture you. What I've learned is you don't resist cravings, you manage them. You have your BMR, you have a certain amount of calories you can eat per day. If you want pizza or potato chips, eat a small portion of it and satisfy your craving, but don't break your BMR.
But then once you start, you don't know how to stop, man, right?
That's where the discipline comes in, Naveen. Stick to it.
Friday night, we were sitting in old Chicago bar.
Well, you can have what they call a cheat day, where you just junk out for the whole day.
But, a whole day.
But be good from then on. If you want to manage your weight, calories are calories. They're going to store, no matter if you're having fun or not.
Yeah.
That's what it says. Cheat when necessary. And if you're dieting, be patient. That's what that goes back to the new breakthrough stuff. Oh, I got something that will make you lose weight in 3 weeks. You'll lose 90 pounds. Blah blah blah. No, you need to let your body adjust to the weight loss. The fat is not bad. It's a hormone. It's a organ. That's what scientifically says. It's an organ, just like just like any part of your body. Your heart, your lungs. It's an organ. It plays a part in the body. When you lose too much fat too fast, you crash because your mind is telling me I need that back to do what I need to do. So, you know, you need to lose weight slowly, as much as you can. That's why it says do your best. Don't try to overdo it and don't try to underdo it. And it's just going to take time. You know, if you want to change the way your body is composed, you're just going to have to slowly lose the weight. You know, you've heard it, lose, gain, lose, gain. That's because people are just too quick to lose weight. You know, you need to take as much, do the best you can. You know, then comes in your cheat days. You cheat, go back on your diet, lose as much as you can, cheat, go back on your diet, and then what I'm looking for is what I like to see in the mirror. That's when I stop. If you're happy with what you see in the mirror, don't pay attention to the scale. Don't pay attention to, you know, this. If you like what you see, then stop. That's my personal opinion of when you need to stop losing weight. Okay. You can go next slide, Jerry. And the next is cardiovascular training. Over the years, before the heart rate monitors, I couldn't do cardio for more than like 14 weeks, and then I would burn out. And this goes into what your zones are, your cardio zones, the percentage of your heart rate. So what you do is you take 220 minus your age, and then you break it down into these zones here, like 85 to 100% is a peak zone, cardio zone is 70 to 80-40, 70 to 84%, and fat burn zone is 50 to 69%. You know, the peak zone is for those prime athletes that can just go 10 on the treadmill for an hour without stopping. I mean, if you can do that, you can do that. More power to you. But for most people, you know, the cardio zone is probably optimal because that's burning calories, and you know it's not overstraining yourself. So what I did, the reason I burned out is because I spent too much time in that peak zone. So when I dropped down to the cardio zone, I noticed I can maintain cardio a lot longer. Your fat burn zone is where you burn more percentage fat. But don't take that as a reason to stay in the fat burn zone. You might burn more percentage fat, but you burn less calories. You burn more fat in the cardio zone, and you burn more calories. So, you know, if you really want to burn those calories, stay in the cardio zone. You could go into the peak zone every once a week, and once every other week. You know, do some peak training to improve your athleticism. But
there's a lot of background noise. Can everyone go on mute? I can't hear.
And Vlad, we also lost your screen sharing. Are you still sharing the screen?
Let me check. Hold on. Is it back?
Yeah, it's back now. Thank you.
So that's the zone. And the first line, anything that increases heart rate is cardio. You can rock climb, you can ride a bicycle, you can run, you can skateboard. I mean, you can do whatever increases heart rate for you is considered cardio. Anything that manages within those zones. So whatever you like to do, just do it. If that's your cardiovascular exercise. And there's a debate. Do I do steady pace, which is, you know, you start small and slowly increase your intensity and keep it there, or do I do interval where you're going up and down, up and down, up and down? The answer is all of the above. Whatever, you can do both in the same session, or you can do one session steady, one session interval. You know, it doesn't matter. Whatever you feel like doing. In fact, it's probably best to change up stuff to keep your body guessing and keep things interesting.
So
Varieties of us
Yeah, there is. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. So there is a lot of talk about like having short burst of peak, right? I mean,
That's interval. That's interval training. You can have a moderate interval where you're walking for 2 minutes and running for 3 minutes, or you can do like a 90-30 where you're walking for 90 seconds and just sprinting for 30 seconds. That's called HIIT training, high intensity interval training.
Yes.
Yeah.
They say that is more effective, right? I mean, that's what
they say that's effective for weight loss. But I don't know. It depends on the person. And I wouldn't just stick to one thing. I would do a variety of things. I would try everything. That steady pace is also important. Being able to keep your heart rate up and stay up there for an extended period of time. That will reduce your resting heart rate because your heart is getting stronger and stronger. Your lungs are getting stronger and stronger. And the lower your resting heart rate, the stronger your heart, the less chance you have a heart attack and those kind of things. So you want to improve your conditioning is what they call it. That's it for cardio. Let's see, do I have anything else? Click at one time, sure. There's just Q&A. Does anybody have any questions on the phone here in the room?
So I have had one question. We have been hearing a lot about like saying you can target specific part of your body through specific sort of exercises, but that's a myth, right? For fat loss and all.
For fat loss, no. You can't. Your body loses fat as
proportionately, right?
Yeah, proportionally.
Yeah.
You're burning fat when you're doing high reps. That's been scientifically proven. No. The only thing that loses fat is a caloric deficit.
Yep.
And then when you lose fat, it just takes off to where it takes off. It doesn't. There's no.
You can't control it from which specific area it is going away, right?
No, it just doesn't. For men, we gain weight around the waist, the love handles, and women gain weight, the thighs and the butt. That's where the first place it stores fat. Where you store water is where you store fat. So that's where your fat stores and where your water. If you really want to get all the weight off of you, just get ripped then. Get all the fat off of you, and then gain it back. If you want to really get all the fat off of you, and then you'll be in that condition that you want to be in.
Okay.
And that's what I'm trying to do, but it's not easy.
So you're saying that if you want to lose your fat around your waistline, that you cannot just target that area? You have to first lose weight?
Yep, that's right, Kamal. You have to keep losing it until it comes off. There's no targeting. The human body doesn't work that way. It just loses. Your fat is made for reserves, for energy. So whatever it takes, it takes.
I think that was big.
Is that Vikas or Kamal?
Yes, it's Kamal.
It's Kamal.
Oh, okay.
It's Kamal.
So if you're generally fat, but you're fat mostly, and you have a lot of fat in your stomach, you couldn't target your stomach. You have to lose it.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah, as you lose weight, it just takes it from where it takes it. Even though you have a lot of fat in one place, there's still fat around your other part. If you just pinch yourself, there's fat.
Yeah.
It's going to take it from where
So
it's
visibly it is like in that particular area where you're concentrating, right? You see it there mostly.
Most people want to say, I want to get a flat stomach and this stuff.
Yeah.
And you see the people on TV, they've just lost all that fat off their body.
Yeah.
They just got down to like 3, 4, 5% body fat. And that's why they're so lean. That they didn't just target their stomach or anything. They actually got really lean. And then, that's something that it takes, for most people, it will probably take 6 months to a year to do, if not longer.
You said men actually put theirs around
The waist.
the gut area, and I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Does the body naturally take it away from there first, or is it just unpredictable?
Where you store fat and where you store water, since that's your backup system, is the last place it's going to lose. It's going to want
First
to.
place to put it in the last place.
It's going to want to store that.
Exactly.
I've heard enough.
It's going to want to store that just in case you're somewhere in some uncharted island with no food. It can feed off of that. That's why it stores it there. You know, it wants to maintain those reserves just in case it needs it. You know, it's one of the functions of fat. Just like I said, fat is an organ. There is a function in the body. It's going to fight you, and if you lose fat too quickly, it's going to say no. I want it back.
Okay, it's the emergency water removal. How are you? Good. Hey, I am actually having Kevin, the business owner. He's heading out right now. He's going to go ahead and take our final readings and remove that equipment for you. So I apologize for the not getting out there sooner. I'm actually in the middle of a water job. I had to come out to LaGrange and do an estimate, and I had to talk on the phone with insurance.
Who's this?
So, sorry?
Who's? Are you using my line?
I don't. Oops. Who was that?
I don't know.
You scared him. You scared him.
I think he dialed in the wrong access code. I think what he did. Dialed a 0 or 1 instead of whatever. Yeah.
Sir, what does that have to do with losing weight or anything?
I think you were. I don't know. Stress will cause you to gain weight. That's
Yes,
one thing.
it does.
Stress will cause you to gain weight. That's why you need to stay active and keep, exercise. It'll keep you from gaining weight. Just puts. I don't know the scientific reasoning, but it puts a lot of stress. Stress puts a lot of strain on your body and makes you, gain weight. That's one of the reasons that you should take advantage of the Humana gym or anything to stay healthy.
So what you said about carbohydrates? You said so if you carbohydrates ultimately turn into glucose, is that sugar? Let's say
That's blood sugar. So all three, if whatever first is carbohydrates. It's the first thing that turns into blood sugar. Your blood has glucose in it. That's basically its energy.
Okay.
So when it needs, it pumps, pumps it into your muscles and makes it do what it needs to do. Like if you're moving something or whatever, walking takes energy. So it's going to pump water, blood into those muscles, and it's going to use glucose for that energy.
So do you tend to get more fat by eating fat or eating carbohydrates, or are they both just as bad for adding fat?
You get fat from having a caloric surplus, too much calories.
So
If you eat
whether
too much,
you eat too much carbohydrates or too much fat, you'll still gain weight and gain fat.
yeah, if you eat too much, but if you, well, like I said, fat and protein have a lower glycemic index than carbohydrates do. They don't spike blood sugar as much, so you have more time to burn those calories off than if you eat carbs. But if you eat 3,000, 4,000 carbs a day, and it's mainly fat and protein, and you don't exercise, you're gonna gain weight. You have to manage your caloric intake. You have to make sure you don't go over what you need.
Because you've seen some diets, they focus on reducing fat out of your diet, but you eat carbohydrates, it's going to turn to fat as well, right? Maybe even worse, because you have this instant surplus, your body has to do something with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, low fat, low carb. It goes back to where you are in that anatomy spectrum. If you're an endomorph, then you're probably going to have to do a lot of exercise if you do eat a lot of carbs. If you're a mesomorph, you can balance. If you're ectomorph, you can eat whatever you want, because you're not going to gain weight.
Which is short and pudgy, that's me.
That's the
Am I
endomorph.
endo or ecto?
Endo.
I'm an endo. So that means I'm more susceptible to what, sugar or fats?
You're more susceptible to gaining, you gain muscle and fat easier than the other. You will, you have to do cardio to lose weight, because walking and just regular work is not going to make you lose weight. You actually have to get your heart rate up and do it for a while. You have to watch what you eat. You know, your body wants to store that fat. Carbs, yeah, they're there. I've had high carbs and low fat, but it worked because I was, you know, training really hard. I was burning, you know, if you have complex carbs and they're slowly metabolizing and you're working, then you're burning that energy off and it doesn't store. You're making sure you don't give your body that chance to store that extra weight.
So even for me, knowing my body type, it's still not clear whether I'm more susceptible to carbs or eating fat. It's really
You're gonna, Mike. What I would do is I would record what you eat and just manage and see what happens. Benchmark. You know, we benchmark software here, right, all the time. So benchmark yourself. Record what you eat. See how many calories. Just record what you eat right now. What you're eating right now, and see how many calories you're taking. Then see, you know, okay, here's all the processed foods I'm eating. Here's all the pop, candy, all the stuff that I shouldn't be eating. Cut those out if you want to lose weight, and then try to get your caloric intake under control where you're under your BMR. Just start with what you have now and just slowly cut back. Slowly go into what you've been hearing all the scientists and the doctors have been telling you to do. You know, eat right, cut out candy, pop, eat natural foods, those kind of things. You know, don't try to be, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger right away.
That's not my word.
You sound like it now. You're asking me a lot of questions. So, you want to.
Well, you know, you just hear so much talk through the decades. You know, we've got the Atkins diet came up. You know, it's all protein, no carbs. It's an enemy against carbs. You can eat all the fat you want, and you do lose weight on it. Probably just through anemia.
But you crash. You crash because you have to spike every now and then. You can't keep your blood sugar down so low all the time.
And then you have totally, you know, fat-free diets where fat's the enemy. You know,
The answer is all of the above. You know, start here. You know, try the low fat, then go to low carb, and just keep cycling until you find that balance of what that pattern is, what's best for you. A lot of times you learn to listen to your body, and you know what it needs. You know you have cravings. That's what those cravings are all about. Your body wants something. It wants fat. It wants carbs. It wants something. You give it what it needs. And then one thing to note I forgot to mention is the portion control. You know, in America, they seem to eat no breakfast, eat a big lunch, and then even a bigger dinner. That is bad. In Europe, they do it better. They eat a big breakfast, a big lunch, and a small dinner. That's what you want to do. You want to have most of your calories, probably half of your calories during breakfast. That's the most important meal because your body is coming off sleep, which is a catabolic state. It's coming after your body's feeding off of itself to stay alive because you're sleeping. You're not eating anything, right? So you eat a whole bunch for breakfast. You eat a moderate lunch, and then dinner, and you have a snack or whatever, just a little bit of time. So by the time you get into bed, you don't have a lot in your body that's as of calories.
See, that kind of works counter to, I guess, the way I thought growing up. I would think if I had a small dinner, that I had failed at life.
That's more of a social thing, Brent. Yeah, when people get together, they expect you to eat. I mean, in Europe, they do it right. Their main meal, social gathering, is lunch. Dinner is just like sandwiches and tea and biscuits and stuff like that. You know, just a very small dinner. But their main meal is lunch. So that's when they get together. I don't know why we decided to do it at night. It's probably because, you know, after work, all that stuff. But, you know, they take 2-hour lunches in Europe just to make sure that they eat that way. Yeah.
Do you think lunch should be the biggest? You said breakfast, I mean, should be the biggest.
Well, let's say it's moderate lunch. It's enough to to show you to respect to your peers that you eat what you ate. So, but breakfast should be bigger. I mean, if for like let's say a man 2,500 calories, probably 1,000 of it should be in breakfast. A woman, 700, which is 2,000 calorie diet, average for a woman, should be breakfast. Eat as much as you can because breakfast break fast. You're breaking your fast. You need to replenish your body. And also a good time, going back to blood sugar, there is a time to spike blood sugar. One, when it's too low if you've been dieting. You need to get it back up there. There's dangers in having that. Or two, if you guys exercise and you run, that's a good time to spike blood sugar. Eat, like something sugary to to replenish your body. There's one of the strongest hormones in the human body is insulin. When you eat something sugary, it spikes your insulin, and insulin pushes all the nutrients back into those muscles, so you're not cannibalizing on yourself. You're not feeding off yourself. So that's as far as spiking your blood sugar. Exercise after you exercise, that's a good time to spike your blood sugar because you're already depleted and you need to get the nutrients back into your body. Yeah. I mean, you see mountain climbers climbing Mount Everest. What do they take with them? Pizza, because they're burning so many calories. They just got to. They're getting so low that they have to eat something, and so they eat pizza. All right.
Now, how about sugar? Just like I've heard people say, stay away from carbs and stay away from, I guess, pure sugar, like in soda and stuff like that. Or,
Soda is high fructose corn syrup, which is bad. It spikes blood sugar. If normal is 70, I think it's around maybe 120, 135. I mean, it's designed, it's processed. They take corn and they process it, and it makes it very high glycemic, and it spikes blood sugar. And they've removed it out of schools and all kinds of stuff now. I think they don't even serve. They don't even have pop machines anymore in school, do they? Yeah, it's been proven very bad. A lot of like white bread, white rice. What they do, they take the grain and they take all the husks off the grain, which has all the nutrients, and also more importantly, it makes it into a complex carbohydrate because your body has to break down that husk before it gets to the actual core, right? So with sticky white rice and white bread, they stripped all that stuff. So when you eat it, it spikes blood sugar even more because it has nothing to go through. It just goes in you really quickly. It's it's good. White bread and white rice is good to eat after you train. That's when when you spike your blood sugar. You have these cravings. Just eat it after you train. Then you satisfy your cravings, right? So eat a bagel with cream cheese and preserves after you train. That will satisfy your craving right there. That as far as fats, the good fats, from vegetables and the fish are very good for you. They're full of nutrients. In fact, you should eat a lot of those because guess what is made of mostly of fat? Your brain. And it's made out of omega-3 and omega-6, which omega-3 you've heard of. Omega-6 is another fatty acid that most people don't know about. But that's, like almonds, walnuts, salmon, fish, they all have good fats, and they're very good for you. The bad fats, like I can never say this word, hydrogenated fats, where they add water to the fat and solidify it. They shown the reason they say it clogs arteries is because that natural fat is very liquidly, so it passes through your body very quickly and it doesn't clog. When you put water into it, it solidifies it, so it's not as flexible, and it gets stuck inside those arteries and clogs them. And that's why they're bad. All these like mayonnaise and what else? Butter, margarine, They all have that saturated fat. It causes heart disease. It's not good for you. As far as cholesterol, cholesterol is not necessarily bad. You know, everything in your body is made out of cholesterol. Cholesterol is used to rebuild, you know, your arteries and your veins. It's too much cholesterol is the problem. You eat too much of it. You know, if you have just enough. In fact, for a man, cholesterol is very important. So cholesterol, if you switch a molecule, it turns into testosterone. So for a man, whose main hormone is testosterone, you need some cholesterol during the day, like 1 egg per day, or some salmon or something like that. You need that. In fact, going back to Arnold Schwarzenegger, guess what they make steroids from? They take cholesterol, switch a molecule, and they have synthetic steroids. That's how they created the first steroid, by using cholesterol. You just need to keep everything in proportion. Don't eat too much, and don't eat too little, and you'll be just fine. I mean, if you keep staying within your BMR, you should be pretty good. Did I lose my screen?
No, the screen share is not connecting to this base.
Just all right. You guys want to wrap it up? We got a hard stop at 1.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks, Vlad.
Thanks for showing up.